Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be reviewing Dear Mothman by Robin Go. I hate mispronouncing last names. But I saw this at my local bookstore and it's all like LGBTQ plus supportive and everything. And so they have tons of books supporting the community, and I saw this one and I love cryptids, so I picked it up, thinking that it was going to be in a different format. I did not know that it was going to be very much letter format and like poetry kind of format, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's written by a trans author and poet, and this book is about a trans young boy. And he's just kind of like figuring out life. His best friend just died, who is also trans, and he kind of learned a lot from him. And this is just kind of him navigating being trans and coming out, and learning about themselves. And I think it's just a very beautiful, very cute book. It's also very, very sad. So like I said, it's written very much in letter kind of poetry format. The poems are not really poems. It's more sort of just kind of like narration of what's going on. There's little pictures that I think are very cute. I just have to show you guys. Like, so cute. But basically, this young individual is named Noah, and his best friend that died in a car accident was named Lewis, and that was basically his first love. Noah is in the 6th grade, and the only thing that I wanted to address was that I very much remember when I was in the 6th grade and my mindset, and I'm not saying that everyone's mindset is like that, but you're a little bit older, you're in middle school, and this book felt very youthful, and like maybe they were like in elementary school. I would have believed it more if they were like in 5th grade, not like considering the Mothman aspect that was apart from that. It's just the way that he writes, the way that the experiences that he has apart from being queer, just in general. They this school, they still have recess, so it's one of those middle schools where in 6th grade they still have recess. So it just kind of threw me off a little bit on that, because he writes very youthful, very childlike, and a lot of things that like happen, it just feels very elementary school. But that being said, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed like how when we reached the end, not really the end, like more like almost to the end, we got to see his crush and also one of his best friends, his new best friends, Hannah's point of view, and like when he goes missing in the woods and everything, how she's kind of like doing in her thought process, and how she wants to help him out. I also think that she approaches Noah's queerness in a very open minded way. She does not question it. I mean, of course she has her questions, but like she is very supportive of it. This whole friend group, like they're so young and they're so open to the idea and accepting, and I think it's so beautiful. And for me, because I read it, and to me the whole book, they were like 5th graders, based on like how it was written. I was like, these are just such young individuals, even though they're in 6th grade. Like, these individuals know very much about who they are and are very accepting, and I think that's really beautiful. Molly, I forgot which one was who it was. I think it was Alice. I think there was a thing going on between Molly and Alice at one point. And Noah was asking, so you like girls? And then they're like, yeah. And I'm like, they're so aware of who they are, but at the same time, it's this book of self-discovery, so it's very well done. And then I believe that Molly kind of was into Noah at one point, but it was very brief, and then Noah ends up liking Hannah, and they are just so cute together. And then Noah, like, he likes her, and he likes her very much. But I think he's still, like, figuring out his feelings for her, which is very understandable. Which is also very interesting, because when you read, like, a book and it has, like, a love interest, like, it's not so broad feelings wise, like, you're figuring it out. You're not sure how exactly you like this person. At one point he's like, I like her like I like a certain type of friend, and I forget exactly how he words it, but he basically explains, like, he likes her very much as a friend. But then he also wants to be with her, so it's like kind of like beginning stages, and then he's also figuring out just being queer and coming out to certain people. There's like certain parts of the book where he does come out to his parents, and he explains how, like, it's hard for them to call him Noah sometimes, but that it happens to people, and he's very accepting about it. Sometimes it makes him sad, but he's also very aware that it's a process, that him and his family is going through in life. And I mean, they're trying, and it doesn't just happen overnight, but they are also very accepting, which I think, for him being so self-aware of that, and of himself, is so interesting. And he comes out to his teacher. His teacher, even though not supportive of his science project, is very supportive of him. And when people don't approach things the right way, when Molly calls him Noah in front of everybody, and he's just like, I'm not ready for that, and he writes the letter, like, the friends are very understanding. He's very able to explain his feelings through letters, and that's why he writes letters through Mothman, which is basically the whole point of the book, but, like, I didn't get to it right away. So he writes letters to Mothman. His friend Lewis, who passed away, believed very much in Mothman. They did a project on him, and in honor of Lewis, Noah grew to believe in Mothman and wrote letters to him and left them underneath a tree in his backyard. And Mothman is a cryptid based in Point Pleasant, and the stories come very much from Point Pleasant. I think it's in West Virginia, and they believe that Mothman now lives in their area. And so he leaves them these letters, and every single day he goes and he sees that the letter, like, basically it's like a journal, is opened up to that page. And he's like, Mothman has been reading my letters. At first I thought it was like the mom or dad. Turns out it's actually Mothman, and I'm like, what? So it's very much fantasy-like, in a lot of ways, but also, like, just a coming of age story, which is really interesting. And nobody believes him that Mothman exists. Everyone kind of, besides his friends, like, think that he's a little out there with that. And he's doing his project on Mothman to show people that he's real. And then Mothman kind of ends up being a reflection of himself, and how he feels, and how he, like, is very closeted at one point, and, like, wants to come out and wants to be Noah, but he can't, so he feels like a monster very much. It's all these parallels, and then Mothman is also Lewis finally coming and seeing him. It's all these interesting metaphors and parallels, I think, are really well done. And then we see Mothman in certain instances. I don't know. At first I didn't know if, like, they were just kind of imagining things, or this was a dream. But then, like, he explained how in real day life, like, how they found the smudge on the door and everything. I'm like, this cryptid is real. And then they find him in the waterfall, and it's just like that whole scene. It was just, I wanted it to last longer because it was so beautiful in the depiction of it, and we were just getting those, like, those poem, like, at one point it did turn into a poem, kind of stanzas, and we were reading it like that, and I wanted more description. I wanted more to go on. It went so fast, but then, like, when it ended, I was just kind of like, did this really just happen? When it ended kind of like on a cliffhanger. Basically, Noah is going to enter 7th grade. This is like the big year, because now they're like no more recess and everything, going to be transitioning to high school pretty soon and everything. High school is like a big topic, and I think that as the book goes on, they kind of like grow up a lot more, and they sound more like 6th graders to me at the end of the book. But basically, Noah does his science experiment. He has like this big idea, and he dresses up as Mothman. And I thought it was gonna be like this whole big thing, but it wasn't. And it just kind of was like, I guess he wanted it to be his big coming out, but it really wasn't like everything that he expected. He's very sad at the end, in a lot of ways, but then also very like inspired and ready for the next steps in life. And it's very bittersweet, and they're not sure what exactly is next for them, and if Hannah and Noah are going to stay together. And after the incident with Mothman, Noah's closed off with a lot of things. Alice is closed off with a lot of things, and they're learning to kind of enter this new phase of life together, learn who they are after this incident and after everything and after Noah coming out. So it's very much up in the air, and it kind of made me sad, but at the same time I felt like for this book it made sense. And then Noah is still writing letters to Mothman. He's like still kind of unsure about some things, but Mothman is very much, he doesn't have, I think, the complete closure that I wanted, but he's moving forward, and he's realizing things, and he's realized things through these letters, and I think it's overall just a really beautiful book, and I really loved it, and I flew through it, and I thought it was really great. In some pages we get like the poetry writing, and then we get the letter style writing, and it's like in a different font, so it kind of breaks it up in that way. But through it all, it's telling the story, and it's telling not only Noah's story, but it's also telling Hannah and Molly and these parents' story about how they're all kind of just going through life and figuring things out and accepting one another, and I just really loved it. I highly recommend it. It is not at all what I expected. I didn't know what I expected coming into this, but it's not at all what I expected. And I think that it just brings up so many interesting questions, so many interesting scenarios and thought processes towards being queer, and towards how people approach it, questions that people might have about themselves, sort of thought processes that they go through themselves, what they witness others going through, and I think it's very healthy, and it kind of opens up this new perspective of what the younger generation is like, and how many of them are so open and accepting, and how they, even though they have their own questions, they're very supportive and they're very understanding. And I think that's so beautiful, that it's just like this new breath of fresh air. And obviously there's still many people that have trouble with that, and it can be very much a self-isolating thing in a lot of ways. But I love that this book sheds light and really highlights that aspect in our community, that many youth are just being very open-minded and understanding and accepting towards this community, and being very aware of themselves and others. And I think it's very beautiful, and I think that it's only something that's barely starting, and I think that it's also very healthy that these kids are having these conversations, and these parents are having these conversations with these kids, and being accepting, because it's not a whole universal thing, but it is something that is occurring in the world. And I think reading books where we have youth being so accepting and going through this process in a more healthy way, I think is really beautiful, and it shows us that we should have more of this. But yeah, that's my thought process. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I have nothing but good things to say about this book. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see y'all real soon. Bye!